What is up, everybody? My name is Adam, a.k.a. WXFan21, joined by Charlie, a.k.a. FF Toilet Ninja, a.k.a. some version of a Ninja Turtle, a.k.a. just dad who likes bacon. Well, one of the many dads who likes bacon, and lots of you out there, men and women. Charlie, what is happening?
Oh, man. Fresh off a little trick-or-treating. Got a whole bunch more to do between now and Tuesday. Very, very exciting. I love Halloween. Like one of my favorite times of the year. The whole holiday season. I'm just happier in the fall, in the winter. Love it.
There you go. We get a big slate to get into this week. You know what's really weird? There's not one team on a bye this week. Everyone is playing this week.
Yeah, I like that. I like this. Let's take a bye from the buys. That's cool.
Yeah, there's going to be insaneness happening. Yeah, there's going to be massive teams taking a bye in week 13. We'll get there when we get there in a couple of weeks or in several weeks. Right now, it's time to focus on week number 8. And we are going to hop right into it. We're going to go position by position here on DraftKings. And we're going to get started at the top. 3 quarterbacks here. We're going to get started at the top. 3 quarterbacks here, Charlie. Patrick Mahomes, 8,400. Jalen Hurts, 82. And Lamar was underpriced. Jackson last week and was underplayed. And he's 8,100. And I'll take my W immediately on my Baltimore stack, because that was in my Millie Maker lineup last week.
Yeah, they had a great...
You know who else was in my Millie Maker lineup? Curtis Samuel. And some other guys. I had no Mahomes. I had no Kelsey. Andrews was a smash. Flowers was doing well up until Beckham and Bateman decided they started to get involved. That's something we're going to talk about today, is their involvement. It's very, very weird. Are they going to start getting them more involved? I have no clue. Flowers is clearly the most talented of the wide receivers. But of these 3 8K quarterbacks, what are we doing with them? Because this is a very weird week. There's no low quarterbacks. There was a low-priced quarterback who was going to be chalk, is in a really good spot, and now is apparently no longer starting, and that was one Mr. Sam Darnold, because Purdy actually has a chance to go through and pass the concussion protocol by Sunday.
Yeah, he's got it. It's going to be hard. It's like a 6 or 7 stage process or something that he has to go through. And I guess he's halfway through that. So he's got
Which is amazing to me, by the way, considering every other quarterback and every other player in the concussion protocols missed at least a week.
Yeah, it's so amazing that I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not going to be shocked if he's not cleared by Sunday. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Because it's weird because, they were like, he started having symptoms of a concussion on the plane ride home.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I'll probably just leave both of those alone, him and Sam.
Probably not the worst idea.
They all have really good matchups.
See, that's the thing. Mahomes is at Denver. Hurts is at Washington. Jackson is at Arizona. None of those defenses scare you.
I think, if I'm going through for any of them, because I feel like I'm out on Hurts. I'm going to pull Hurts right out of it. For me, it's Mahomes or Jackson. And, I'll save the $300 if he goes off again. They're all going to score right around the same. I think Hurts has probably the least out of the 3, but still a good day. So I'm probably going to go Jackson just because of the price.
See, Hurts is my favorite of the 3.
All right.
Because it's Washington. Look, all 3 are going to be in my player pool. And I also want to come up with that. In my 20 max, I had every player in the winning Millie Maker lineup in my player pool. Again. Getting there. It looked like for the longest time you needed Jackson to be the winning quarterback, and then Mahomes is just like, Lamar, hold my beer. 300 plus passing yards in the first half. Like, just come on, give me a break. But all we got to know is, look, is Taylor Swift going to be in attendance for Travis Kelce? Is all we need to know. Apparently, that's the key.
That's the thing, and from what I've heard, she is not. She just had like an album release or something. I don't know. Is what I heard on the radio.
So we're full fading Kansas City. Understood.
Definitely fading Kelce.
Which is, by the way, we're kidding. Mahomes and Kelce's a great play.
She'll be in Germany.
So no Germany games this week.
No.
It's next week, I think, is one of the first 2 Germany games.
Yeah. The rumor is she's going to be at that game, but not this one. That's just
Who cares? Why do I care? I don't care. All 3 quarterbacks are in play. Hurts is probably coming in. Of these quarterbacks, I think Hurts has the highest chance of being the only player from Philly that does anything of massive explosion. He has the rushing upside. We've seen the brotherly shove, as they're calling it, or whatever they're calling it. We've seen that. It works. No other team's making it work like Philly.
No, they're not. That's true.
What concerns me was the injury from Hurts. He has no injury tag. It was that little limp he had last week. Came out of the game briefly. I believe it went back in. That's what concerns me. I think Jackson is probably the one I'm leaning on of the 3. I'll have exposure to Hurts. I'm going to have exposure to Mahomes, Kelce stacks, and quite frankly, maybe Rashee Rice, but that's it. The problem is it's Mahomes and Hurts. It's Hurts and A.J. Brown. It's Lamar and Andrews. And every single one of those stacks is perfectly fine. Why is it perfectly fine? Because they're all in smash spots. Washington, I've been saying this for the last 2 weeks since I heard it on the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. Washington is the worst team in the league versus perimeter wide receivers. Mahomes, it's Denver. It's Kelce. It's the Denver's been a bad defense. In Arizona, we've picked on versus the tight end for years. Isaiah Simmons, who they drafted a couple of years ago and then traded to the Giants this past offseason, was supposed to be that no longer tight ends gash in the Arizona defense. He's gone. Right back to the well on playing tight ends against Arizona. Any of these 3 quarterbacks, any of those 3 stacks, I think is perfectly fine. They are probably the best matchups on the entire slate. But Charlie, you're really going to pay for it this week.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'll have a couple of shares of them, but for the most part, I think most of my lineups are going to have a couple of other quarterbacks in it. The one thing with that, let me tell you, the one thing that worries me with Hurts is that Ron Rivera. That's what worries me. Because if he's really on the hot seat, and I mean, if what they say is true, like the players are like, no, we want him. Like they're going to come out and play, and it's a big rivalry game. It's like this game could be a nasty dogfight. So I don't know.
If it's a nasty dogfight, I'll be very surprised.
It could be, and it could be low scoring.
Now, look, we'll get there because Curtis Samuel may not play in this game.
If Samuel doesn't play, and we'll get there to get to our receivers, McLaurin is going to be an amazing play.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, Scary Terry for Halloween weekend.
It's going to be really interesting. Let's get to the next group from Tua all the way down to Joe Burrow, so 7,700 to 6,000. Tua 7,700 at home in Miami versus the Patriots. Kirk Cousins versus Green Bay. Stafford, Stroud, Lawrence, Prescott, and Burrow. Lawrence has a questionable tag. I expect him to play. What of an injury is that? I feel like he's just always plays. It's a knee injury.
It's his leg, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a knee injury.
On that injury last week.
Yeah, I mean, like I expect him to play. My favorite quarterback of this group is C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I like C.J. Stroud a lot because he's going up against a pretty bad defense. as well. So, and I think they may have lost somebody else, maybe on Carolina's defense. They've been hurting. So.
Yep.
But I feel like they lost. I feel like maybe I heard like that they lost someone else. Can't put my finger on it though. But yeah, I like Stroud's a good play. 6,300. You can work with that.
It's also Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun little game.
This is the number 2 pick, and CJ Stroud is just with the better team because Houston had wide receivers ready.
Exactly. I love Stroud's wide receivers in this game too.
Houston might be my favorite stack of the week.
It's probably my second favorite.
Who's your first favorite?
So now you're gonna have to pay up some for one, and I know that the matchup is but I really like Joe Burrow this week, like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yep, he's someone else I want to talk about. So Joe Burrow, $6,000 this week.
Yeah, you're paying down for that.
Yeah, on the road at San Francisco, who have been handed 2 brutal defeats at the hands of the Vikings and the Browns.
Yep.
And if Purdy isn't there, that defense is going to have to play. And Burrow we know if Burrow's on his game, he can play well against any defense in the NFL. Coming off the bye week, I think Burrow's got a really good chance of breaking out.
I completely agree. Like that's the thing. He's rested now. They've already been looking better and better, for the most part. I mean, there was a rough start in Cincy, but Uday and them Bengals now, and coming off of the bye week, they're going to be well rested and in much better shape, I think. And like, I'm still like Jamar. He's had some really good games, but I'm still waiting for him to make that have that game where he makes just 2 dynamite plays. You know what I mean? Where he breaks one off for 70 yards and a TD, because he hadn't really done that this season, but it might happen. It may happen.
Excuse me.
No, it's late. We know.
I had to take a nap before the show. I'm tired. Anyway, so I think for me in this group, it's Stroud and Burrow.
Yep.
And I don't even know if I'm getting to Burrow. Again, I'm going to be honest. As of right now, again, it's Friday night. We're recording this, 8:49 p.m. Eastern. I am going to have Mahomes, Kelsey, Hurts, Brown, Jackson, Andrews, run back of Sutton for Mahomes, run back of Terry for the Philly stacks, and a run back of Marquise Brown for Arizona. Those are the obvious run backs. You can play others, but that's probably the correlation I'm going to have with those teams. I'm not going to force in a second player. If I get a Rashee Rice, if I get a Devonta Smith, if I get a Zay Flowers, a Beckham, a Bateman, I'm focusing on the higher end quarterbacks this week, and I'll get different in my lineups elsewhere. But Stroud at 6,300, I think, offers not only the salary flexibility, but this game, I think, could be a much higher total game than I think that Vegas has it at. Let me actually go double check real quick where it's at right now. This game is currently at... No, I don't want the NHL bets. Let's try this. Let's go here. And 43.5. That's actually not bad.
No, that's not bad.
And I think that's in a really good spot. The problem is 30 of that could be the Texans.
I'm almost banking on it.
You know what the interesting part is, too, in a 43.5 total? I think that my favorite run back from this game, and we'll get to it in running backs, is actually Miles Sanders.
Yeah?
It's a running back versus Houston.
He's probably priced down pretty good, too.
We'll get there. But it's a running back versus Houston, and as I pull up those stats, we're going to get into it. But, any other quarterbacks in this range?
No. Not really.
Cousins, Green
There's not
Bay.
a whole lot of pop this week, except for what's at the top.
Yeah. I mean, the Texans, surprisingly, this season have not allowed a lot of rushing yards versus opposing running backs, 508. They have allowed 5 rushing touchdowns. They've allowed 244 receiving yards against opposing running backs and 1 receiving touchdown. You know, we just look at DraftKings points allowed this season versus opposing running backs. They're one of the worst in the league, 24.2 on average. Like, that's bad. Broncos are worse. But we'll get to Breece Hall in a bit. I also like the Houston running backs in this game, namely Devin Singletary, Damian Pierce, and we'll get there. So I find it really interesting. But we'll get there when it comes to running backs. How about cheap quarterbacks under 6K? We get Geno Smith, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy if he plays, Derek Carr, Minshew. See, the problem is the cheap quarterbacks this week are in terrible matchups.
Yeah, hey, look, the Colts are going to lose, but Minshew seems to get a lot of fantasy points when he loses. So like, because he tries. He gets out there and he slings the rock around.
I have no interest in him versus New Orleans.
Of him. And then I may, man, if I want to get really like cheap on my quarterback, I might throw some Kenny Pickett in there.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett at home versus Jacksonville. Totally fine.
They can win games, but they're not stopping anybody from scoring. They're like in shootout. You know,
no.
What? Pitt's coming off of a bye, right? And you know, they're starting to look a little bit better. Remember they had bye week 5. Just recently though. So
yeah,
you know, they were starting to get a little together more. So I might take a couple of shots on him. But if I do that, I'm paying up other places for sure.
I'm going back to Millie Maker winner quarterback already this year, Desmond Ridder. Atlanta on the road at Tennessee. You good?
Maybe.
I mean, Ridder on the road at Tennessee versus Malik Willis / Will Levis. Versus the Tennessee can't guard anybody secondary.
Yeah.
Ridder, London, not Bijan, Ridder, London, Kyle Pitts, or Jonnu Smith. Pay up at running back, pay up at wide receiver, pay up at tight end. It's a salary saver. You just need Atlanta to hit.
That's the thing. It's just you just never know with them. I might take a couple of shots on him. He
yeah,
he didn't pass fun.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've had one time this year already that every player I've had every player in the winning Millie Maker lineup in my player pool. Might have also been last week, so I might be at 2, but I know at least once earlier in the season. Getting close. The process is right. They're just not hitting in the same lineup. So the process is there. Going to continue to get better. If Brock Purdy is ruled out, and we have to know this before 1 p.m. lock for the main slate. If Brock Purdy is ruled out, do you have any interest in Sam Darnold, who I believe is 4,300? Where is he? Yeah, Sam Darnold, 4,300.
Yeah, I'll take a shot on him. And I'll tell you why. He's got a coach that can scheme.
Yep.
And he can build an offense around whatever he's got at quarterback. So, and for that reason, hey, I really like Kittle this week too. If Brock Purdy doesn't play, when we get to tight ends, I got a fun little fact for you.
Sounds good to me. Anything else on quarterbacks?
No. I think we've covered pretty much anyone that you want to use this.
Exactly. Very weird week. Let's see if we can get different elsewhere. Let's go over running backs. Christian freaking McCaffrey, 9,200. He's at home versus Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Debo's out.
I mean, he's gonna get points, but it's one game this year. I mean, he's gonna go without like scoring a touchdown. So, because I mean, has he yet? I don't think he has. It could
All
be.
McCaffrey does is put up insane numbers.
I know it's not.
However, I will say if he gets sub 20 points, like McCaffrey at 9,200 this week, because of how you really have to pay up if you want those good quarterbacks, it's gonna be really difficult to pair him with anybody.
Yeah.
He needs to hit 25 plus because he's not been hitting 25 plus. He hit 28, 25, 22. Let's call it 23, 51. That was the 4 touchdown game. 15, 14, 23.
Yeah.
That's not paying off your price tag. So he concerns me this week.
It's just, this is the thing. It's the price. There's other guys. There's other guys that have good matchups that you can use, and they're a lot.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: if Purdy's out, then the stack for me is Darnold McCaffrey. Dump off, 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 dump off.
Think so? I mean, it's possible. I think there'll be a little bit more to that.
Yep. Let's get in the next couple of running backs. Saquon Barkley's 8K. Mostert listed as questionable for this game. Should play is 7,700. Raheem Mostert, 7,700. It's 2023. Good for him. Derrick Henry at home versus Atlanta's really underrated rush defense, 7,600. Pollard need to get back on the bandwagon. My fade of him in season long looks really good, 7,500. And then there were 2 players.
It's juicy right there.
And I might have a lot of exposure to.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara, 7,300. His receiving volume has been insane. Like, if we just take a look at his receiving volume since he came back from suspension. 14 targets, 3 targets. On the road at New England. Keep that in mind. That was on the road at New England. 3 targets. 8 targets at Houston. 14 targets for Jacksonville.
And you look, too, he has he has missed 2. That's the most he's missed all season.
Alvin Kamara at 73, but then there's a tiny running back named Travis Etienne Jr., who's done nothing but smash.
Touchdowns.
Since week 5, he's really got on the trot. At Buffalo, which I believe was the London game, 39.4 DraftKings points. Indy, really good rushing defense, 23.3 fantasy points. At New Orleans, really good rushing defense, 22.7. He gets Pittsburgh.
All 3 of those games, though, he has gotten 2 scores. So, and here's the thing with ETN, if he doesn't get those 2 scores, he's probably not hitting 20 points.
So here's the thing. The Jacksonville Jaguars this season have allowed the 4th fewest rushing yards versus opposing running backs. Excuse me, not Jaguars. My bad. I was looking at the wrong team. That's Pittsburgh. We're not playing Jalen Warren this week. My bad. Pittsburgh. I wanted Pittsburgh. Seventh most rushing yards allowed versus opposing running backs. 4 touchdowns. Here's an interesting thing. They haven't really faced a lot of receiving running backs, it seems like. They've only allowed, on 29 targets, 18 receptions for all. Think about this stat line. For a rushing defense, 29 targets, 18 receptions for 132 yards and 1 touchdown. That's 4th best in the league. But the volume versus receiving running backs, who have they really played this year that's a receiving running back? That's the problem, right? Let's just take a look. They played the Niners. That was McCaffrey. Browns. That was Chubb, rusher. Raiders, Jacobs, rusher. Texans, rusher. Ravens, rusher. Bye week, Rams. That was the Michigas of Henderson and Foreman last week. Not Foreman, Freeman. Royce Freeman. Now you face Travis Etienne. This pass catcher. Yes, please. We know Etienne can catch the ball.
Yeah. He
can rush like crazy. Is Etienne sneakily the best running back play on the slate?
No. He might be the second best.
He's not. You want to talk about Breece Hall, don't you?
Oh, yeah. He is a great play this week.
He wants to talk about some Breece. All right, well, anyone else besides...
Good play. If he gets you those 2 touchdowns, he is a great play.
There's a chance Etienne gets 3 and 100+ rushing yards.
There's a chance. I'll take a shot. I'll take a shot on Swift.
So I like that. Swift, I mean, that's an interesting pairing with if you're not playing Hurts, play a little bit of Swift.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, you could do Swift and AJ Brown. I wouldn't be mad at you.
Nope. All right, can we let's just talk about it.
All right,
Breece Hall.
We got to go back to the best matchup after this. Yeah.
Breece Hall, $5,900. Technically at home versus the Giants because they play in the same stadium. The Giants this year, we know, have been gashed by running backs.
Been ugly for the Giants.
Now, when I mean gashed, I thought I was kind of saying it nice. They've allowed the second most rushing yards versus opposing running backs this season. And 8 touchdowns. Now, again, we talked about the Steelers not really facing receiving backs. Hall can do both.
Yeah, he can do it all.
They are the best team in the NFL in terms of receiving yards allowed versus opposing running backs. But again, second worst in the league behind Denver, who, by the way, he gashed. Okay? Yeah. He gashed Denver for 177 rushing yards and a touchdown.
177 yards. He may do that kind of stuff again this week.
At home versus Philly.
And think about attempts. Giants. There's a lot of pride in this game, too. So, you know what I mean? They're coming out. They're showing up, and he's healthy now. He is. There's no doubt in my mind. He is healthy. He's back in full strength, especially coming off of the bye week. He's at full strength.
I want you all to think about this. Philly is the second best rushing defense in the NFL this year in terms of rushing yards allowed versus opposing running backs. 12 rushing attempts for 39 yards, a touchdown, 5 targets, caught all 5 of them for 54 more yards. Those receptions matter on DraftKings. That's 5 points just in targets.
Yep.
Breece Hall is the best running back play on the week.
Yes, I believe so. I really do. You got to have him in your, and he's going to be chalk, but you got to have him in your lineup. Because if he goes off, you're not going to beat him.
I'm probably not lock buttoning him, but he's going to be probably. I'm going to max him. I want between 50 and 70% Breece Hall this week. Is my initial thought. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I'm going to have him in the majority of my lineup.
He's at home versus. Well, he's basically at home versus the Giants. with no Daniel Jones.
Yeah. The Tyrod might be better.
Doesn't matter. That defense isn't.
No, they're terrible.
Breece Hall.
Smash game for him.
Yep. Now, look, you can play Pacheco's in an amazing spot versus Denver. Already said it. They are the worst rush defense in the NFL this year. They've allowed, and let me see if I can get this right, because, Charlie, this is week 8. Okay? Just think about that when I say this number. The Denver Broncos have allowed 1,005 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns this year.
Half a season.
They've allowed 47 receptions and 385 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns versus opposing running backs. ProFootballReference.com, people, I'm not making this up.
Oh no, they're bad. They are bad against the run. Like, they're so terrible. And Pacheco's, dude, he's just getting better and better too. You know, he started out this season banged up. He's gotten better and better. They're utilizing him more. Andy Reid is using that kid great.
Yep.
So he's a really good one. But,
it's really interesting, Charlie. It really is. I mean, if you were to tell me in a high expensive stack, like tell me, let's just say you're playing Lamar with Andrews. You can't really get McCaffrey. You can't get Barkley on the other side of this game. Too expensive. You mean to tell me if you get a $6,100 Pacheco and a $1,500 Breece Hall, if those are your 2 running backs, I'm going to say, good for you. Good choices. Really good choices.
You might make some money with those guys. Like, oh man, both of them, their ceiling is really, really high this week. Both of those.
It really is.
Hall's ceiling is ridiculous. Hall's ceiling this week is seriously maybe like McCaffrey's. Like that's how good of a game he could have against this defense. And I mean, Pacheco they just don't, it's Kansas City, so they're going to spread it around.
Now look, it's the battle in New York. If you were to tell me Breece Hall doesn't do anything and they decide to get Dalvin Cook more involved, fine. I very much respect some of the experts out there. If they say don't play Hall for whatever reason, I respect you. He's in too good of a spot. Probably the last time we're getting him all season under 6K. Dalvin Cook has been. I get a lot of respect for what Dalvin Cook has done in this league. He's been kicked to the wayside on this team in favor of Breece Hall, who has turned the Jets on. Javante's going to get there too. Coming off the ACL injuries, just getting better, getting more reps, taking more of those hits, getting back in form. Javante's going to have one of the same weeks. He's going to blow up. Breece Hall is already at that point, and we will get there with Javante because that's another player I want to talk about, Javante Williams, who's $5,200. Now he faces Kansas City. He's at home, though. He's got an advantage in the altitude. You have any interest in Javante for large field GPPs? Because I do. He's not a priority. But if he's a last man in, I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I like, as a player, I like him. I think he's like super talented, really is. It's a shame that he had such a bad injury. But I feel like it's going to be one of these games, any game now, he's going to put it all together. I mean, he's
getting there.
Getting, okay numbers, but I think he's hovering somewhere around like 12 points a game or so, if that. And it's like he can do so much more. So my thing with him is I'm going to throw him in some lineups because I want to have him when he does blow up. So I'm willing to take a shot.
If you're listening, please trade him to a team that utilizes the running back. If you really don't like him, then please trade him. If you want to have this, I'll keep this show family friendly. If you want to have this, little, I'm trying to keep this family friendly. Charlie might have an idea of where I'm going with this, But if you all want to really have this thing for Jaleel McLaughlin, then trade Javonte. Please. He's too talented of a player to sit there and you not do anything with him.
Yeah.
And that's coming as a fan. That's coming from a fan of his. That's all.
I'm just going to blow up something.
Yep. Now, the running backs
do him really well.
Huh?
A change of scenery might do him really well.
But again, his wasn't just an ACL injury. He had a worse knee injury. So he has a little bit more to come back from. We'll get a little bit more confidence as you're taking these runs and everything else. You know, look at Gordon Hayward when he came back from basketball from that terrible ankle injury that he had. It took him a year of full playing time to come back. It could be a mental thing too. But right now, this Denver team is in shambles. I don't know what's going on with them. There's no reason this team shouldn't be blowing up for 20-plus points a week. Wilson, Javonte, Jaleel, Judy, Sutton, Marvin Mims, who's not being utilized.
It's like Sean
Payton
get it. Forgot how to coach. It's crazy. Yeah, I agree. It's nuts. I mean, you got Patrick Surtain. The defense is not terrible, but it is. It's the thing. It shouldn't be, but it is. I agree, man. They should be way better than they are. It's like, I don't know, man.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But that's besides the point. Let's get into the Houston running backs before we move on here, because I want to talk about the Houston-Carolina game. There were running backs in this game that I want to target. So let's just get into it real quick. Dameon Pierce is 5,300. Miles Sanders is 49. And Devin Singletary is 44. Now, Devin Singletary over the last couple of weeks, 12 attempts last week at New Orleans, 2 targets. If he's going to get 12 attempts at 4,400 versus Carolina, I think is interesting. Dameon Pierce, we know he's the guy. Has not really done much this season. Maybe he finally does something. $4,900 Miles Sanders.
Yep.
Not on the injury report. Healed of the groin injury. Or shoulder injury, apparently. I thought it was a groin injury. Full practice. Off of everything. Give me Miles Sanders this week. 4,900. Lock and load.
Yeah, that's not bad. Sanders will be a good flex spot. To get some higher guys in. I really do think so. I will have him in my flex in a lot of places, I think. But that's just because a lot of times, you got to use that flex spot to kind of get the guys that you want to pay up for.
Not only that, I do just want to be very careful when you're using the flex. Make sure it's the later games. Flex spot should be used for those 4 p.m. games. Unless you have 3 running backs from the 1 a.m. game for the 1 p.m. games, then by all means go do it. But if you have the flexibility to use the flex spot for those later games, that's what I would do. But my goodness, Miles Sanders this week. If you were to tell me I'm playing Pacheco, I'm playing Hall, and I'm playing Sanders, yes, please.
Yeah, I like that. That'll be nice.
Because game script-wise, Carolina, if you're Carolina, do you slow the game down? Do you just do what you can to try making this a slower pace game? Or to try keeping the Houston offense off the field? Carolina's back from the bye. They've had a chance to reevaluate. Going into this game, the Houston defense has been better than expected. They're young. They're getting better. What do you do if you're Carolina? Do you try going for a shootout? You don't have the wide receivers for that. We'll get to Adam Thielen when we get to wide receivers. This game is really interesting to me from a game script standpoint. Does Carolina try pounding the rock with Miles Sanders and slowing the game down to keep Stroud and the Houston offense out there? Or do they think they might have unlocked something with Bryce Young and we finally see Jonathan Mingo emerge?
Like, how do you think this plays out from the Carolina perspective? I think is key.
So, I mean, I think that it's probably going to be a lot of running. You know, they're going to try to keep it up the middle. Houston's been, I mean, they've been all right against the run, but, you know, I feel like if you're going to attack them, that's probably the best way to. Frank's not a terrible coach. I mean, he's really not. He knows his stuff. So I would look to see that. Like Sanders is going to be the guy that I feel like will have the better game out of their offensive weapons. So I mean, Thielen this season seems like he's just always in. He's like that safety net and that guy. So
Mostert, Thielen. What other old men have done well this year?
It's crazy.
I mean, do we want to add Travis Kelce in that? Isn't he like 34 years old?
Yeah, hey, man, that don't matter. He got the Swiftie on his side.
Keeping this a family-friendly show.
You said because it's so funny because like every year, and you'll hear it like the guys on like national radio and stuff like that. You know, every year for like the past like 3 or 4 years, it's like this has got to be the year that Tom catches up to Kelce. This is going to be the year, and we keep saying it, and it just doesn't happen.
They said it about Brady for years too.
Like one day, Tony G's just going to pop out of the stands and take him out. Like, no, get too close to everything.
Listen, like I think
Tanya Harding stuff going on there.
I think Kelsey's coming really close to usurping Gronk in terms of greatest tight ends of all time. If Kelce keeps this up and wins another Super Bowl, he's going to be right in that conversation with Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates, who I think he's already surpassed.
I feel like he's already there. Of course, personally, I don't think Gronk's even in the conversation, but I think that he's already there.
4 Super Bowls.
Good coaching, being on that team. As a player, though, as a tight end, how long did he do it?
Super Bowl rings. That's all I'm saying.
In the last 3 years, he looked like a shell of himself. Like, nah, dude. Tony G's got him. Woo! So beat.
Oh, yeah. Tony G's still the greatest of all time, but I got to tell you, Kelsey's making an absolute leap. He's coming for that spot.
He's
coming for that spot. First ballot Hall of Famer for both Gronk.
Up with him, he's getting it.
First ballot Hall of Famer for for Gronk and Kelce, no doubt. So anyway, any more running backs you want to talk about here?
Oh, I still haven't done research yet this week, so I don't know anybody's prices.
Madison's 56 versus Green Bay. Gus Edwards is 55 versus Arizona. Stevenson is 54 versus Miami. Cam Akers, 4,800.
4,800 for Cam. I'm going to probably take some shots on that. And where's Darrell Henderson? What's he at?
That's a very good question. 4,800.
Yeah,
if
he's the starter this week, I'm going to probably take some shots on him too. And again, those guys probably going to be like some flex plays for me, maybe to get in some of my higher price guys. But I mean, at that price, I'm taking a shot on those guys somewhere.
There you go. All right, should we get into wide receiver?
Yeah.
Unless there's any more running backs or any more love you want to profess for Breece Hall this week.
I love Kenneth Skywalker, but I'm not touching him this week.
Yeah.
I'm just look, he's a little banged up. We don't even know if he's going to necessarily play.
It's Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We don't know what we're getting with Cleveland, but they are really good against the run typically.
Any more admiration for Breece Hall? Okay, just get it out there now.
But get him in your lineups. Dude's going to blow up. He's going to blow up. It's going to be big.
Says the Ninja Turtle himself over there.
New York, man. I can't wait to watch it. So, I'm not a Jets fan, but if they're not playing my Colts, I will root for them. So, yeah.
There you go. So, Breece Hall is the play this week. let's get into wide receivers because wide receiver this week I think is really, really interesting. So let's go start off at the top. At the top, Tyreek Hill is 9,500 versus New England. Cooper Kupp is 9,000. Jamar Chase is 8,100, and AJ Brown is 8,000. I don't like any of the matchups for those top three.
I'm pretty big on Jamar Chase this week.
Of the three, that's who I'd prefer. It'd be Chase, Hill, and Kupp for me in that order.
Yeah, it's like I hate to
Kupp's
say
a fade for me. Kupp's a fade. It's Dallas.
See, I'm thinking Hill's kind of a fade because we don't really know what's going on with the leg.
He's healthy. He's off the injury report, and so is Waddle.
They say he's healthy, but he wasn't this week. You never know.
It'll be interesting. Maybe they limit him, but let's face it. This is a division game.
Yeah.
They're going to come to play. Miami, if they win this, that's a better division record for them. Keep in mind, they've already lost to Buffalo once. They get 2 wins on New England. That helps them with that division ranking. Both Buffalo and Miami should make the playoffs. It's a matter of who wins the AFC East. And if it comes down to tiebreakers, if it comes down to division, these are important games for them. I think Hill will be fine. If he is limited in any way, he could hurt you at 9,500.
Exactly. He's the top wide receiver, as far as the bankroll. So it's like, man, I don't want to risk it. And you got to think, okay, halfway through this week, they're, and maybe this is coach speak. You never know, but they're planning, on playing without it. Weren't sure, if he's going to do. And also, what do we know about New England's defense? And what do we know about Belichick as a coach? What does he typically do? He typically tries to hone in on that, that top weapon that'll hurt you the most, shut that down and make you beat them in other ways. If I'm going up against Miami and I'm looking at those weapons, that's the guy that I want to shut down. I'm going to try to shut him down, and I'm probably going to try to shut down that, that run game. If they're going to beat him, they're going to beat him with Waddle.
I'll say this.
It'll be Hill.
To your point, the New England did that. 9 targets, 5 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown saved Tyreek Hill's day.
Yeah,
in New England.
Points in that game. Look, that was one of his worst games this season.
And there's a good chance that he does that again. If Tyreek Hill is to catch that touchdown, he busts. You need 20 to 25 easy from Tyreek Hill. I don't know if I see that at New England. But I like Tyreek Hill a heck of a lot more than I like Cooper Kupp. I'll take my victory lap on Puka Nacua from last week.
That was a good call. Kupp, man, he just didn't have the game. He'll bounce back, though.
Puka was the guy last week. And again, that's fine. This is what we see. If Stafford hones in on a guy, that just may be what happens. They've got 2 studs. They've got Kupp the stud and Puka the stud.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's going to be determined by the defense.
It is.
Because you can't keep them both down. So you got to make a choice.
And we know Dallas, while they have Stephon Gilmore, they don't have Trayvon Diggs. Who's covering who? You know what I mean? Who's covering who? My favorite wide receiver of the high-priced guys, I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. AJ Brown. Washington is bad versus perimeter wide receivers. There is no reason AJ Brown is not going to absolutely smash in this spot. He may be the first wide receiver in NFL history to have 6 consecutive games of over 100 receiving yards. I think he tied something last week. It was 5 in a row. Some stat on whenever it was Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football. Just look at this. Struggled. He did okay in week 1. Minnesota was weird. 131, 175, 127, 131, 137 receiving yards. Caught 3 touchdowns in that time, by the way. If he catches a touchdown and does that again, it's gravy. Because he's getting 9 receptions on 14 targets, 9 receptions, 6 receptions, 7 receptions, 10 receptions. He's the dude. This is what we wanted him to be in Tennessee. But he's got the quarterback to make it happen, with all due respect to Tannehill. And Brown really couldn't stay healthy in Tennessee. I don't know what it was. He's a completely different wide receiver. This is the ceiling we thought we'd see from him. He's in a smash spot. I'm going to have a ridiculous amount of A.J. Brown this week. He's my pay-up I'm going to have probably outside of quarterback and probably outside the top 2 tight ends. He's the guy.
Yeah, I like Brown. He's got a good matchup, like you said. They're not that great covering guys like that, so he's got a really good chance. He's got a really good ceiling. I like him, and I like Jamar Chase a lot this week. The matchup's not bad, and they're coming off of the bye. They're getting healthier, so I think he's got a really good chance to blow up. Plus, we haven't really seen that like really, really just spectacular play from him yet. That's going to be coming. So, I mean, he's had some good fantasy games, but like as far as like, just like torching a defender and breaking one loose for, 60, 70 yards. So that may happen. So I like either one of those guys.
Yep.
And $100 difference, if it comes down to $100, then either, go Brown. But I'm cool with either one of them this week.
Chase is another play. I think it's Brown and Chase for me. I'm going to have Tyreek Hill in my player pool, but I'm not going to force him in. And I'm probably going to be fading Kupp. I'm going to have Puka. I'm not going to force him in. Maybe I have Kupp but not force him in. Lamb, I want absolutely no part of. Nope. Waddle, maybe. Yeah. Ayuk is too expensive. We don't know the quarterback situation. It's Cincinnati. They can double team him. I'm not interested in any of the Seattle wide receivers this week versus Cleveland. Not that I'm interested in. What are you doing with? Go ahead. Huh?
I'm staying away from that game. Cleveland,
Seattle? Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see much fantasy value in it. Not anything for money. I mean, there's some stuff, an argument for stuff in season long, and you're not, benching your studs in that game. But, man, for like cash plays and everything, I'm not going to touch them. I just don't have any interest in that game.
What are you doing?
I'm not going to have them.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is somebody in that game is probably going to go off. There's going to be one person. I'm not going to have them in my lineup, and I'm going to be okay with it.
Yep. What are you doing with these two? Same great game, same stat on perimeter wide receivers. Devonta Smith, who has done really nothing this season, 6,700. And then you have this guy, Adam Thielen.
That guy is the guy, man. At this point, it's like
I'm going to have lots of Thielen this week. I'll tell you that. Versus Houston,
get him in, use him. He just keeps going off. They just keep.
How is Thielen not over $7,000 yet, DraftKings? I know it's Adam Thielen. It's the name. He's over 30 years old. You look at the production. He's had one game of 3.2 points. Okay. That was Bryce Young's debut. Okay. 20 points, 34, 15, 30, 31. How is he not over $7,000 yet to really make us try to figure out if we're playing him? He's sub 7,000. You play Adam Thielen this week. There really isn't anything else to do. What are we doing with Devonta Smith? Is he the ultimate pivot this week for GPPs?
I'm going to take some shots on him because it's like we're getting like halfway through the season. Some of these guys who haven't necessarily shown up, we're getting to that point where they're bound to show up. These aren't bad football players by any means. Skinny Batman is a dang good player, and he's got a good matchup as well.
Skinny Batman?
So, yeah. Man, he is. Yeah, he's going to be
interesting.
Good. I really.
Skinny Batman.
They call him that.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
So you're taking shots on Devonta Smith.
I will this week. Yeah, because I agree. I do like the matchup, and I've got mixed feelings about how that game could go. That game could be just
40-0.
Really could just give them a shellacking. Like seriously,
40-0, and then the starters come off the field in the second quarter.
It may happen.
40-0 at halftime.
Run out of the locker room at halftime. Be like, sorry, dude, not working.
The starters are already the starters are already changing. Backups go have fun.
I tell you,
40-0.
When I look at all of these guys over here, I don't think this ain't a bad week for Garrett Wilson at 6,300, and I really like.
No, not at all. Great play, great pivot off Breece Hall.
Yeah, like it. I like him, and I like Kirk.
What are we doing with Chris Olave?
Super guys. Look, man.
He's getting the targets.
Yeah, it's just
he has one touchdown.
Quarterback play just hasn't been great. Like, it. I know that like the coach came out and they're like, all right, the growing pains are over. We got to get it into gear now. And we'll see if that helps. But
15 targets last week. He had 15 targets.
Yeah, and 12.7 fantasy points.
Only caught 7 of them. If Derek Carr is that injured, can you please play Jameis Winston, please?
Oh, please do. He'll throw the ball down.
Did Jameis Winston piss in somebody's chairs? Okay, sorry. Trying to keep this family friendly. Why is he not getting a chance to start? Why are you rushing Derek Carr back? He's on a 4-year contract.
He's the guy. He's
on a 4-year contract. Everyone have a chill pill.
Yeah, exactly. So what are they going to do when Winston comes out there and outplays him?
There you go.
Stay away.
Olave is interesting this week. Won't be a force-in for me, but I do think he's interesting. Garrett Wilson is really interesting this week. Murray Cooper's interesting. I said it. Debo's out, like I said. Christian Kirk. Why is he under 6K? I have no idea versus Pittsburgh. Great play.
5,900. You got to get him in. You got to use him.
Calvin Ridley's $100 cheaper. 5,800.
Yeah, but I mean, right now Kirk's hot. Ridley seems to be like trying to figure this offense out. It started to look at the beginning of the season like, hey man, he's just back to him, but maybe not, man. He's trying to figure something out, and I'm sure that he will. And he's got T-Law's a great quarterback. I mean, I hate to say it because he's a Jag, but he's a great quarterback. But right now, it's Christian Kirk's time.
Yep, Christian Kirk is a great play. I'll be playing him. I'll have Ridley in my player pool. Before we get to what should be the chalk of the week, what are we doing with T. Higgins at 5,900? They're off the bye. Have they figured out a way to use him now? Is Burrow's calf better? Is Higgins finally better? Is this going to be the week? It's going to be Chase Higgins?
It might be. I have just like a sneaky little feeling about Cincy this week. So.
Yeah, Burrow, Chase Higgins. How many times did we play that last year?
The thing is that when I look, like he's sandwiched right in there between those Jag receivers, and I feel like if you're going to a receiver for 5,900, Kirk's probably a way better play this week. Like that's the thing; they're the same price, so it's like almost every time. Like if I have to hit a receiver at that price range. I might throw some T. Higgins in there, but I'm going to look at Kirk and be like, yep, like him at that price, way better.
This is going to be good.
I like Zay Flowers, too, down there at 5,600.
Oh, yeah, give me some Zay Flowers this week. Yeah. Chalk of the week, Jordan Addison. Because of his blow-up on Monday Night Football, and because the pricing came out, he didn't really get the price bump to basically his insane monster level game. 10 targets, 7 receptions, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He looked really good. That was versus San Francisco.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson might even be better because maybe Jefferson now won't be double covered when he gets back. If Addison can keep this team in it, there's a chance that they will bring Jefferson back if they actually have a push for the playoffs. So this is a very big, important divisional game on the road to Green Bay. But Jordan Addison didn't get the price bump that he should have. Jordan Addison should be chalk this week. I think it's good chalk. And he showed he can ball out. And that was at San Francisco. That was at home versus San Francisco. I understand it's a divisional game. San Francisco is one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm not worried about. I mean, Jair Alexander is an amazing corner. He's been injured. Jordan Addison's a great play this week. Would you agree?
Yeah. I want to see him. I want to see him do it again, but I think he will. So it's not a bad idea.
Yep.
He's priced really good. There's actually a whole stack of receivers right around this price range that I really like for this.
This is a great range. Like, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Kirk, Ridley, Addison, Flowers,
yes,
Pickens, Collins, Judy, McLaurin, Sutton, Brown, Christian Watson, Drake London, Deontay Johnson. Excuse me, Rice, Dell, Dobbs. If you're paying up for quarterback, this is probably the range of wide receivers you're probably bouncing up your lineups with. Excuse me, I take a drink of water. Talk to the people.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys that you can utilize in here to pay up some, which will give you the opportunity if you want using if you stack some of these receivers, if you pay up for say like a AJ Brown and then you throw, I'll even go down at 4,900 with like a Tank Dell and then Scary Terry in there because you got to get some Scary Terry in your lineup.
I think it's Tank. I think it's Tank Dell's birthday Sunday. Birthday narrative.
If it is, you're playing him.
Hang on.
Oh my gosh.
Tank Dell. I'm pulling it up right now. Where's the Wikipedia? It's his birthday on Sunday.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you're definitely
birthday narrative.
Hey, Rice has the potential to have a pretty decent game. He's trending upwards. I mean, you could go like Kirk, London, and Dell in there.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to, you could maybe find a way to put like CMC in your flex.
Shout out to my boy Jay Chan, by the way, for that.
Like
for the birthday narrative.
No, you got to do that. You got to get him in. You got to put the birthday boy in.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I like Nico. I like all of the receivers for Houston this week. I hate liking players from Houston, but I do. I think they're really good plays.
If it makes us money, I don't care. I'm a Patriots fan. If I'm playing Miami and it make me money, I don't care.
I still won't play Patriots in my lineup.
Fair. Listen, you've made money this year if you have faded Patriots. I'm just saying.
But yeah, man, all of these guys. Look, I know Downs blew up, and I like his.
Oh my goodness!
But I don't think he's gonna. The targets may be there, but he's not gonna be. You're not getting 30 points from him.
I don't think you're getting that.
I don't think you get more than points from him. So I'm fading most of the Colts this week. New Orleans is a really good defense, and they're not a great defense to go up against for fantasy points.
Yep.
They grind it out. They force you to kind of grind it out. They like to control the ball. They like to control the time of the clock and stuff. And they're using Kamara more than anything on the offense. So,
The interesting thing, too, about this range, like, of the players like the most, Terry McLaurin, Zay Flowers, Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, Cortland Sutton, Christian Watson, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell. Like, you got Downs, you got Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, Dotson. If Samuel is out, listed as questionable due to a foot injury. But like you said earlier, in the news here says he seems to be on track to play. I might just put in McLaurin, to be honest. He's in such a great spot. He's probably going to be my run back. I'm going to have him in non-run backs. This 5K range is loaded.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Most of these guys at this price range, this week are going to be pretty good value. I'm probably staying away from D-Hop. I don't really have much interest in D-Hop, and I'm going to take Sutton over Judy. And I'm going to do that pretty much any game if it comes down to those two.
Agreed.
The way that team is set up right now. And Pickens, I mean, he's starting to come up some, but these other guys that we're talking about are going to be way better value for the money.
Yep. You get no argument here from me, Mr. Charlie. Or should I just call you Mr. Ninja Turtle?
That's right.
All
It's
right.
the Hulk. It's cool.
Okay, Hulk, calm down. Hulk over here. All right, let's get into any cheap wide receivers. I don't know if there were any that are really standing out. I mean, again, Downs, Osborne, Bourne, Dotson, but again, Samuel's going to most likely play.
Okay,
we know
so
Robert Woods is out.
JSN. Now, I know I've already said I'm not touching anybody from that game. But if either Metcalf or Lockett both have been on injury reports and stuff, if one of them doesn't play, then at 4,300, if I need a cheap spot somewhere, I may take a couple of shots on him. But that's only if he's going to be one of the starting 2 wide receivers for Seattle in that game.
Here's how I look at this team.
The least amount of coverage, so he's got a shot of just having it at 4,300. If he gets you 15 points, and he's got a shot if he gets in the end zone and doing that, then I'm not mad about it at all.
Here's how I look at this team. If Metcalf is out, I'm playing Bobo. If Lockett's out, I'm playing JSN. Metcalf is off the injury report. Lockett's questionable. I don't know if he's going to be playing. Full participant in practice on Friday. He should play. I was on Bobo last week. People thought I was nuts. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
And what did JSN do? Now, JSN had 7 targets, 4 receptions, and 63 yards and a touchdown, 16.3.
Yeah.
I had Bobo. I was on Bobo. Didn't play any Bobo. Was in my player pool. Didn't get there. Against Cleveland, is this how I'm looking at it? JSN most likely, I mean, Lockett's still on a thing, but JSN's going to be the slot guy for this team for years to come.
Yeah.
Bobo is an outside perimeter threat, like DK Metcalf. If you were to tell me Metcalf, Lockett, and a combo of JSN and Bobo, a combo of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who's also injured, by the way, you get a decent tight end. This team needs a quarterback, with all due respect to Geno, and this team is poised to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, they've got some good weapons. Gosh, they've got a great running back. One of the best running backs in the league, really.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm trying to see if there's any other.
The line's not that bad either, but you're right. I mean, they're missing that key piece. I'm
off Bobo this week because of the matchup.
I'm always willing to take a shot on Wan'Dale.
Yep, Wan'Dale's 3,700. Really weird game last week. Jaden Reed's interesting at 3,700. Beckham, this is what I wanted to get to. Beckham and Bateman were more involved last week. Beckham saw 7 targets, 5 receptions for 49 yards, no touchdowns, almost 10 DraftKings points. Where is Rashad Bateman? I'm just going to filter. Where is Baltimore anyway? They're at Arizona. We look at what Rashad Bateman's done. 3 targets last week, 2 receptions for 36 yards. Nelson Aguilar got a touchdown last week, which was really interesting. Someone in the RTR chat mentioned it, but again, it was 1 target, 1 reception for a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think you bank on that happening again.
No, Flowers is the guy.
Yep.
6 targets, 4 receptions. Again, I was on him last week. He was in my Millie lineup. He was the stack. Looked really good early on, and then it became the Beckham show. I wouldn't mind if you're playing Baltimore stacks to take a shot on Beckham in your double stacks.
Look, if he's got a shot at getting 5 targets at 3,800, you got to throw him in there some places. It's
Lamar,
just too cheap.
Beckham, Andrews is really unique this week. Beckham's going to be due for a touchdown. Got really more involved last week versus a really good Lions defense. Arizona's not the Lions defense.
No, they're not.
They're not.
I actually like that as a pretty high scoring game this week.
Yep. I think Jalen Hyatt's interesting. Juju's back. MVS is interesting. I think for me, I'm probably going to have a lot of players in that 5K range. That just seems to be the sweet spot this week.
Yeah.
Let's move on to tight end. Unless there's anything else to talk about running with wide receiver.
No, we've covered it, man.
All right.
Well, we're
getting little late here on time, so let's just call this what it is. Travis Kelce, 8,400. Mark Andrews, 6,400. Congratulations if you played double tight end last week.
I know, right?
Probably won a lot of money. I do not play double tight end. It is statistically proven to not be optimal and realistically not be the winning lineup, but it was last week because both tight ends were in really good spots. And let's face it, they're basically wide receivers. This is a double tight end week. So play both. There's really nothing else to be said. Kelce is Kelce. Just play him. Well, I'm talking about the top two.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Arizona's been good versus the tight end this year. Only allowing 265 receiving yards, no receiving touchdowns, but it's Mark Andrews. He's the main guy. He basically acts as the number one de facto wide receiver. Andrews is a good play. Travis Kelce's the smash. Let's get into players not named Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews who were plays this week. Talk about George Kittle.
Okay.
That's enough. No, I'm kidding.
Brock Purdy does not start.
Yes.
Every time that a quarterback has played for Shanahan's offense it started their first game for him, Kittle has scored at least 20 fantasy points. Every time.
Interesting.
When the 49ers start a quarterback for the first time, Kittle averages like 21 points. If Sam Darnold plays, you will start George Kittle as your tight end at 5,400 over any of the guys priced higher than him.
So what you're saying is he's a safety blanket.
It all points to yes.
Kittle's a safety blanket. Let's call it what it is.
Yep. And whenever Shanahan is acclimating a quarterback to his scheme in a real game situation, he uses Kittle all day long. It's tried and true. He does it every single time.
All right. So that's that on George Kittle. Play him in a good matchup versus Cincinnati. TJ Hawkinson's in a good spot. Waller seems to be Tyrod's guy, but Waller is questionable for this game.
Hawkinson's in a pretty good spot, and that price is really good for him. He should be priced higher than that. I really believe that. 6,200.
Excuse me. Yeah, but the problem is he's not producing. He's got 2 touchdowns on the season. He's getting the volume. He's not getting the touchdowns.
Look at those targets, though. 11. He had what?
That's what I'm saying. This will correct itself. This will correct itself. Positive regression coming for TJ Hawkinson.
Absolutely.
I mentioned it earlier with Atlanta. Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith are 2 good options this week. Dalton Schultz, though, 3,900 for Schultz.
I like it.
Been really involved with Houston the last couple of weeks. Again, that was with no Tank Dell, but now Robert Woods is already ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
Did I mention I really like Houston stacks this week?
He's going to have all Texans. Just all Texans.
All Texans and all Phillies.
Your lineup for 20 grand.
I'm just saying, Charlie, if you want to get me a Jalen Hurts jersey for Christmas, that's all I'm saying.
But, Schultz is a good play this week. I think he's a good play. If you're paying down for tight end, he's probably your best. His odds of getting you double-digit points are better than most of these other guys.
Yep.
So I'm probably not touching many of the guys below him other than maybe Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, I mean, Trey McBride's interesting, been getting more involved the last couple of weeks. Josh Dobbs still going to start, been getting more involved with targets.
Yeah.
Again, typically typically tight ends take 3 years to really start contributing fantasy-wise. That seems to be on the point that they start doing things. This is his second year, so Zach Ertz has been there. What a great tight end to learn behind.
Oh, I know. I think, look, Dynasty, man, that guy has been a great pickup for the last couple of years if you've been able to get him this season or last season. But Baltimore's pretty stingy against tight ends. That's one thing that they've done very well this season.
Yep.
So I really don't like. I mean, it's going to be a high scoring game, and it's very possible that he gets a touchdown, but it might be something like 2 catches, on 4, tries, and one of those just happens to be a touchdown, and it was for maybe 7 yards. So, if he does that, he'll pay for himself because he's so darn cheap. But I just like other guys better. Schultz a lot better.
I agree with you. I think Henry and Ferguson are interesting. Tight end's really simple this week.
I like Ferguson too.
Yep, tight end's really simple this week, in my opinion. Let's get into our segment. We'll talk about defenses later. It's a defense. Congratulations, we're done. I'm kidding. Let's get into it. Quarterbacks, give me 2.
Oh, I really like Joe Burrow. That's going to be a really good play. And if you really want to get frisky with it, take a shot on Minshew.
Excellent. CJ Stroud for me. And I'm going to go back to the well on Lamar Jackson.
Hard this week, man.
Any of the top 3 you can play. Again, I love Jalen Hurts this week, but I think of the top 3, I think Hurts has got the biggest chance of busting.
I do too. I completely agree. That's why I'm saying I'm probably taking Mahomes and Jackson over Hurts.
He also can do what Mahomes did last week: throw for over 300 yards and or just rush for 2 touchdowns, and he pays off his price tag and he's optimal. Yeah. I'm going to have all 3. Gut-wise, I think Hurts is the lowest of the 3. Because the others, I think, have a better chance of staying in that higher range. Philly should just trample Washington. And if they're trampling Washington and if Hurts isn't getting there, say if Swift gets 2 touchdowns, there's a chance Hurts isn't paying off 8,200. That's my only concern. But again, I'm going to have all 3. I'm going to go with Jackson, but I'm going to be playing all 3 of the top guys. And I've already told you how much I love CJ Stroud this week. If you want an off-the-play quarterback that's not the top 3, I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder. Running backs. Picking 2. And over here, our pick'em section. Who you got as your favorite 2 running backs this week?
I mean, it's Hall all day long.
Let's take Hall off the board.
And I really like. He's 7,300. So I'm going to pivot. I really like Pacheco, but I'm going to go with Kamara.
I'll take the other 2 then. So you got Hall and Kamara. I'm going to go with Pacheco and ETN. Those are the 4 for me.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, again, this is wide open considering how huge that 5K range is. I'll start us off here and going with Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. Terry's good. I really like Christian Kirk this week.
AJ Brown, no surprise.
Yep, Jamar Chase.
I like it. One tight end, not named Kelsey or Andrews.
Oh,
because that's no fire. That's not fun.
No, it's cool. Look, and I gave you my spiel about Kittle, and for real, if Brock Purdy is out, I am going to have him in almost every single one of my tight end spots. But you know what, man? I'll go ahead and say that Pitts may not be a terrible play this week for his price.
Excellent. So you took my guy. You took my pick in Kyle Pitts. I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz.
Oh, you can have Pitts. I'll take Schultz. Cool.
I like Schultz more than Pitts. I think Schultz is safer. I mean, we've seen Pitts finally get more involved in this offense.
Oh, I agree with you. Schultz's floor is way better than Pitts' floor.
Yep. Pitts finally showing them. Did you see the catch the Pitts had last week behind the back?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I live in the land.
Oh, my gosh. That catch was insane. And let's go with one defense. I'm going to get mine off the bat with right away. To Browns, $3,000 on the road at Seattle.
I like the Texans defense this week.
Texans on the road at Carolina. Can't blame you. I mean, who are the chief defenses this week?
Falcons, too. I'll take
Falcons defense is probably going to be the chalk against Malik Willis / Will Levis.
Yeah, because
get that.
Don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be ugly on that side.
I don't mind if you really want to get frisky and play the Bengals on the road for $2,200 against San Francisco if it's Sam Darnold.
I mean, they're so cheap. That's the thing. It's like at $2,200. I mean, are you going to be mad if you get 6 points? At $2,200.
It's a defense.
Yep.
So, all right, Charlie. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining me as always.
Yes, sir.
Have a great weekend. Folks out there, good luck in your contests. And let's see if we can win the $1 million this week. Charlie, last minute thoughts?
Happy Halloween.
There you go.
Go out, scare some people. Hey, but for real, don't pick on the little kid. Let them get their key.
Be nice.
That's right.
Be nice. All right. Have fun this weekend. Stay safe. Good luck, everybody. Latest, peoples.